Welcome back. When it comes to advancing yourself and investment, there's a variety of options you can look to, and one of them could be going as a group as opposed to doing it individually. One of these options we're talking about is investment cooperatives, and to understand what this is all about and what it offers for you, I'm joined by Mackrine Abukah, the chairperson of the Safaricom Investment Cooperative. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, just to begin and to understand what this is all about, and I know there's many times confusion on whether it's a SACCO or not. What is an investment cooperative, one, and what's the difference between that and a SACCO?
The investment cooperative is an entity that brings people together for joint investment. So for our case, we have Safaricom staff and the public at large bringing in money, and then we jointly invest as the board. Now for the SACCO, it's really about saving and borrowing. So you join a SACCO so that you can save money and subsequently borrow therefrom. The investment cooperatives often don't do lending services.
When you say often, does it mean that there are some one-off situations where you might end up lending, or is it completely out?
It depends, because like for our case, the form of lending we do is an extended payment kind of model. So rather than give you money, we give you a prolonged period within which to pay for whatever it is that we have to offer to you.
Is it a very established kind of platform, or is it still in its growth phase?
I would say it's still in the growth phase, because for the investment cooperatives, most came up after the SACCO Act changed in 2008. So not too many that are around, but quite a number that are being formed day by day.
So what are the requirements for one to join an investment cooperative?
We have a fairly simple set of requirements. So one needs to pay a joining fee, and then one needs to acquire a minimum number of shares in the society. And we are still in the mobilization phase for the capital. So you're also required to make monthly subscription payments, which buy you additional shares. So that for us is pretty much what is required. So you could join as an individual or join as a group, chama or an organization, or even small cooperatives.
What are the criteria that you have when you're choosing what to invest in?
We looked at the growth areas, and we looked at a period of 5 years going backward and what was projected going forward, and we chose 4 areas in which to invest. So we're in real estate, we're in agribusiness, we're in private equity, and we're also investing in the stock exchange.
When you compare your real estate investments vis-a-vis the other areas of investment that you're in, how do you rate it in terms of how fair is it doing compared to these others?
Real estate investment is doing very well. Actually, we have been in real estate since inception, and these others are our diversification options. Like most other guys, we buy property, we subdivide and sell. We have adopted the policy of at least doing some value addition in the properties that we have. So at a minimum, you'll find that we provided fencing. Depending on how far off the main access, we'll provide access to the property. We have developed property. So our first project was housing units in Rolongo, where we built and sold 160 apartments. And we are now getting started with the second phase of that particular project. We have other projects as well which we have developed. We have 54 units in Ruaka. We have 9 units which we are about to start in Ololua. And we have 13 units in Ngong. For the Bluebells project, we finished the first phase in December of 2014. And we are about to get started on the second phase, which comprises of 140 units. And we are really excited about it. We will have the groundbreaking on the 24th of October, and all those who have an interest in investing in that general area are invited to come and participate with us in that groundbreaking ceremony. Something else which we believe is unique to us is what we are calling gated agribusiness solution. So we have an 80-acre parcel in Kajiado area, which we have subdivided into acres and halves, and which we are offering as a complete package. So complete in the sense that it comes fenced and it comes ready for farming. And we are going beyond having it ready for farming. We are doing the identification of the market. So when you buy it, you know you have property, and when you plant, you know you have a ready market, which is something that many people struggle with as far as farming is concerned.
How much is your government engagement with the government when it comes to these matters? For example, talk about the land, and there's a lot of issues to do with the land laws and the likes.
Our relationship is really to the extent of being law-abiding citizens. So we work towards ensuring that we ascertain the validity of ownership before we make the acquisition. And when we then have that ascertained, we ensure that we pay the necessary fees that are payable to the government within the prescribed timelines.
How do you make sure that you don't engage, with fraudulent people when you're acquiring land and the likes? What are some of the checks that you do to ensure that you've safeguarded yourselves and your investors?
We have a fairly robust set of activities that we engage in before we acquire any property. So one of the things that will happen is that we'll conduct a search, which is the standard procedure that everyone does. We will go beyond that and require a deeper understanding of the parcel and interrogate the history of the parcel. So not just the current ownership, but the history as well. Beyond that, we usually also get a surveyor to go to the ground to verify the particulars of the parcel. Now, what that does is to ensure that when we are acquiring property, we are certain of what we are acquiring by way of size, by way of location. Because we've had instances when we've been shown a parcel to be here, when the surveyor goes and does the verification, and we go back now to be shown by the surveyor, we find the parcel is, whatever he surveyed according to the documentation is totally different. So you see, in the absence of engaging in that kind of activity, you would end up buying the wrong property, in a sense. So we ensure that all those are determined before we can now proceed to, negotiate with the owner.
Who are the specific professions that you work with to be able to make sure that your investments are well safeguarded and they're above board in everything?
Given that we are a cooperative, we have the board and then we have staff. So within the staff complement, we have various professions represented therein. Now, outside of that, depending on the project, we will then source for the requisite professionals. So, for example, the Bluebells project, we had to source for the whole list of professionals. So you have architects, you have the contractor, we have the engineers and all that. For the farming project, we have the people with the specialization in that particular area. So depending on the project that you want to undertake, we then procure the service providers. And given that we are a public entity, then we are subject to the Public Procurement Act provisions. We then procure through the guidelines provided therein.
You've mentioned a number of investments that you have. Are they limited to Nairobi, or have you gone beyond the county?
We have investments outside of Nairobi. Actually, we have presence in various counties. At the moment, we have at least in 4 counties. We have in Kajiado, we have in Kiambu, we have in Nakuru, and in Machakos. So we have properties across the country pretty much.
When people are investing, some may choose to go it alone, and some may, for one reason or another, choose to do it as a group, partly due to the lack of the resource for a specific project or otherwise. What, in your experience, have you seen is the importance or the advantage of going it as a group?
So the advantages of investing as a group are various, one of which you have already mentioned, which is the pooling of resources. With the pooled resources, you're able to achieve an investment objective faster than if you were to go it alone. When you come together also as a group, you find that you bring in synergies by bringing in the different levels of expertise. So like for Safaricom Investment Cooperative, we have a membership in excess of 3,000. And there are instances where, as the board, we need specific expert advice, and we are able to tap from the pool that we have, and get direction and progress. So that also helps for people coming together. And given the fact that we are much involved in the real estate area, coming together also helps people to acquire property, because property in its nature in our country is that it's relatively pricey. So you find that if you're to go it alone, it's a challenge. If you go as a group, then you're able to at least manage it better. Yeah, and even in terms of acquisition, you're able to benefit from the economies of scale. So if you buy something in bulk, you get a better rate than if you bought, as a single unit. So there's quite a bit of benefit in working together.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, Mackrine Abukah, the chairperson of the Safaricom Investment Cooperative. Now you know how else you can be able to invest and further yourself, not as an individual only, but also as a group. We'll now take a look at our property tidbit.